She was flirting with another man. It was nearly 6 in the evening, and it had been a very difficult day. Work was fine, but life was a different matter. I had a lot of questions about life. I walked into the bar, and within seconds I saw him sitting on a stool. Asshole. I took the seat next to him and held out my hand. "George Baker, long time no see." He pretended not to recognize me. The asshole was as transparent as glass. "This is Bill Johnson. Does my wife work with you? We met at the Christmas party last year." "Oh yes, Bill, it's good to see you again." The freak shook my hand. His grip was sticky. "How are you doing, Bill?" As if he didn't know. I ordered a beer. "Well, you know, same old, same old." I thanked the bartender and took a deep sip. It felt good, and it was exactly what I needed after today's news. "I hear you're a big fan of reading. Your wife is always talking about your latest story." He said it as if being able to read was some great accomplishment. I wanted to tell him that they teach it in elementary school, but I didn't. "Well, I do read a lot, but she was probably talking about the stories I write." I took another sip of the amber golden drink. "Really? Have you written anything I might read?" 100 sarcastic responses flashed through my head at once. Instead, I shrugged. "I guess I haven't. I mostly write short stories and publish them online. I get some interesting feedback. Sometimes it's like a writing workshop, and sometimes it's like fighting a pack of rabid dogs." He laughed, but I don't know why. Perhaps it was his latent sense of superiority. "So what are you writing about, Shakespeare?" "About this and that. I see what's going on around me. I hear people talking. You can learn a lot just by listening." "And then you report your findings?" The asshole was still laughing. "Not exactly. I think about what I hear and go over it in my mind. I try to figure out what makes people tick and why they do what they do. Then writing becomes a vehicle for expressing those thoughts." "I'd rather watch soccer." I'm not surprised. I bet he's never played soccer in his life. "So how do you write these little stories of yours?" Indulgence seems to be his forte. If you think about the characters in the story, they start to take on a life of their own. You start them, and they kind of steer the story in their own direction. For me, it's a form of meditation that helps me understand people who usually elude me. Maybe you just need to take more walks. The real world is more interesting. That's the thing. When you write, you can live the words on the page and do things you can't do in the real world. "Like what?" he asked. I took another sip of my beer and looked in the mirror behind the bar. I didn't feel the need to face him until I was ready. "For example, you catch your wife with some lousy coward, punch him in the face and break his nose. Hit him hard, so you hear a satisfying crack when his nose breaks and see a splash of blood when he falls. You then divorce this cheating woman and leave her with only the clothes on her back. You can't do that in real life. You will still get arrested despite your motives, or at least you will in most states. Here in Texas, they generally congratulate you for your restraint, and the wife gets half." The arrogant prick laughed. I guess he figured the joke applied to me. It was time to finish the story. "Yes, writing is a great distraction from life. You can do almost anything on the page, and there will always be a happy ending." That was his final warning. I finished my beer and tossed the money on the counter. I slammed both hands on the edge of the bar with both hands and said, addressing no one in particular, "That was great." I stood, turned toward the door, but without seeming to think, turned around and said, "Oh, one more thing," and then punched him with all my might. I gathered all the anger and pain I had in me into a fist, gathered every ounce of strength from my toes to my shoulders, and delivered a roundhouse kick right to his nose. I heard a satisfying crack as his nose broke and saw a splatter of blood as he fell off his stool. I stood over him, looking down as he tried to defend himself from the beating he knew was coming, and then turned and walked out of the bar. I'd made my point, and I wasn't going to go to jail over some coward molesting married women. I walked into the house, late for dinner, and my wife told me off to the fullest extent. "You're late. Dinner is cold. Where have you been? Why didn't you call?" She continued, and I paid no attention to her and silently walked up the stairs to change. My hand had to be put on ice and my face on a cold washcloth, but I felt fine. While I was changing, there was a phone call and a muffled conversation that I couldn't make out. Refreshed, I walked back down the stairs and found a badly dazed wife with a completely different tone of voice. She looked terrified, as if divorce might be in her future. There were tears in her eyes. "I'm so sorry. It wasn't what you think it was. I never slept with him. We only danced and fooled around a bit. How would you feel if I only fooled around with Jenny Smith?" Jenny had a figure that made grown men cry, and I knew my wife was more than a little jealous of the attention Jenny received from men wherever she went. All she did was hang her head and whimper. The tears were already dripping. Care to define fooling around? They say confession is good for the soul, and today I wasn't going to let her off my back. She was breaking down. Her pain was undeniable. We kissed for a while. He felt something, but only over my blouse. He never got into my clothes. Her confession matched what I'd been told, and I was inclined to believe her. And what did that relationship lead to? I swear it was everything. I felt guilty about it. It never went any further than that, I swear. She gulped air and could barely speak. You know I'm unhappy, don't you? You know this is going to stay with us for a long time, don't you? She nodded. She knew. I could have told you that you were seen. I have friends in this town. If your story hadn't matched what they told me, you'd be on the street right now. You know that, don't you? Yes, I'm sorry. She was panicked. I let him get to me, but he didn't get far, I swear. And to myself I thought, you let him get a lot farther than you should have. I'll save that for another time. People are complicated. That's another feature of stories. In a story, the characters may be simple, but in life, people are complex. She flirted with another man and her wedding vows. But I know that at heart, she has always been a person who takes her vows seriously. When she says, I swear, it literally means, God is my witness. You don't lightly ask God to be your witness and then lie. At least she didn't do that. There's another point about characters in stories and people in real life. Characters can be perfectly imperfect, but in reality, good people make mistakes. Real people are imperfect, even the best of them, and they have insecurities, self-doubts, and a need to be accepted. The hard question you need to ask is, have they learned a lesson from this, or will they do it again? To answer it, you need to know why, and answering the why question is very difficult. Okay, let's warm up dinner, and then I think we're going to have some serious conversations to have. She nodded furiously. Yes, darling, I know, I'm sorry. I could see what she was thinking and what was bothering her. James, are we going to sleep together tonight? Yes, Maggie, but we have a lot of work to do before I want to celebrate. You know that, don't you? She wrapped her arms around me and kissed me passionately, wiping the tears on my cheek. Yes, darling, I love you. I really do. I love you. I don't know how he got to me, but it will never happen again. I love you too, but my trust in you has taken a big hit. You know that, don't you? She nodded. I could see tears in her eyes. I took a deep breath and suppressed the urge to speak up. Now let's heat up the rest of the food and try to save the evening. The end! Subscribe to my channel. Thank you.